The market showed you short-term volatility while it is still trending higher. The news came in, and that's a micro news creating this volatility. So at this point, if you're asking the question, like, is XRP actually going to get rejected here and then going further to the downside like this? Yeah, that's a genuine question. But while you try to respond to that, you need to look at a lot of different things, and we are going to break all of that down here. Don't be confused. We'll give you all the data. But to get to that point, you need to know which direction the macroeconomics is going. You need to know which direction the fundamentals of that asset is going. You need to know which direction the markets are going. Breaking all of that down, you'll start with Bitcoin. You'll then jump on to XRP, right on to Ether and total altcoin market with XRP to Bitcoin and others, so that you kind of have an idea that this is the most likely outcome. Welcome to the scientific investor family, where the normal retail guys get to learn how to become the next top 10% of this world. We're going through the entire market, breaking it down, giving you the right opportunity calls at the right time for all of these assets, which give you the absolute, which shows you opportunities are there in the market, and it's about you to take benefit of that. Now let's directly jump into the segment of XRP. Yes, the thought process of the price dropping to these lows can still be there, but what's the probability? Anyone can think in any direction. If you do look at the resistance, you can actually put the argument like, yeah, the price is getting rejected at an area of resistance which has been there from last 12 months. Great. That means the price can go back down. It's failing to put in new highs. That means it should drop. Agreed. But then you also have to understand there is a trend line formation. Until that breaks to the downside, you are not going to put an argument that I'm going further low. And if that does break, at that point, you're not talking about the 0.3 range here, the 0.29 range. Rather, you'll have micro supports while you go up around 0.47, then at 0.41. But what are the odds for such a deep correction? Because for that to happen, you need to see Bitcoin dropping back down, say 40,000, right? That's the time when XRP should drop this low. Or in the other side of the equation, Ether should retest and get rejected, go down to $1,000, $1,500, that range. What are the odds for that? Yeah, you do see there is a trend line for Ether. And when you plot that trend line, you kind of get an idea that these are the supports. Great. We agree. The price did get supported at each of these points. Agreed. But now you also have to understand the fact that these resistances were valid for a long period. So it's going all the way back to May 2022, and understanding that was a support resistance, again, support resistance. So from May 2022 all the way to 2024, it has remained as a support. Right now, you are testing that zone. So talking about this breaking to the downside, yeah, you cannot neglect that, saying it's 0%. It can be 1%. But at that point, you need to ask yourself which item in the chart shows you that's the highest probability. But at that point, the question we are asking yourself is the probability of any signals which shows you to the downside. So if that's just 1%, then you're looking for the highest odds. Here we are watching, there is a formation which can be the ABC, which can be the retest, which we talked about for last 2-3 weeks. and then you may slow down. But again, your support range remains intact. That's 2200 to 2300 for Ether. If that's true, the last key point of 2300 in XRP terms looks somewhat like 0.49. So if we go back, we're not changing our words. We talked about the exact same thing to each and every one of you, so you know what we're expecting. We were talking about this from last 10 days. Next one at 0.49 was the question, and we've been following that up. So if you do look at that, it still has higher odds in that direction because the price is still getting rejected. However, the price remains above the moving average. So what's bullish? How can this turn without going that low? You have two trend lines to watch. One is the short-term trend line starting from July 2024. Another one is the micro trend line, which started from August. Now, from early August to this point, late August, that trend line is valid. So if you get a break to the downside, now you're going back down to 0.55. That's what XRP actually shows you because it's trying to break to the upside, but liquidity is coming back in. The supply is coming back in and the demand cannot absorb that. Price to volume. Easy part. You zoom in and you look at the last candle close with the volume. So the price to volume ratio kind of give you an idea. We had more buying power, like 90% of the last candle, but then buyers failed to push the price through and it's a resistance. So now you go back to Bitcoin. Okay, what's possible here? Anything is possible for sure. Anyone can throw a stone and say this is the most likely outcome. But if we think that the price is going to reach back to this trend line right now, most likely whales would argue, no, I'm going to make something choppy here. And then at that point, they may bring it down. Why? Because at that point, the majority would think the price is breaking higher. It's going to continue higher. So they would push it back down to this trend line. Now that's a 1 hour chart to illustrate you the micro scenario. Because when you zoom out on a short term, this is your trend line. So the price coming back to that trend line, it's good. Whether you are a trend-based guy or you're a pattern guy, you would argue that's just a retest. So you broke to the upside, you're coming back to retest that range on a 4 hour. That's still short term. So if you zoom out, try going on a medium term narrative, what do you see here? You have multiple indicators suggesting this kind of a micro slowdown should be expected. But are we talking about the 90,000 range? No, not yet. Because you need to see a break of 70,000. A candle close above that territory is important. Till that time, Bitcoin is arguing you what it is doing right now is the MACD cross to the upside, the MACD cross to the upside, the MACD cross to the upside. So you got to see what happened previously each and every time. And then just after that, you kind of get the price dipping back to the moving average. You kind of see the price trying to go back to the moving average. Again, you get to see this every time. If that's the case, we should be looking for something same here. So now zoom in. Elaborate that into an area you understand. So the price can do this and then go back. Isn't that the exact same thing we saw on the micro? Yeah. So when you zoom out on the medium term, then try to understand what the market is showing you on the short term, on the micro. You're not going to react to all the micro trades. If you are trading micro, yeah, for sure. But if you are holding 90% of your portfolio, then the micro trades are not your region. What you would most likely look for is a price drop. You may see The price going back up here, failing to put a new high, and then coming back. That would make more sense to say that the price is about to reach back to the trend line. So on a micro narrative, this is what you're looking for in Ether, in Bitcoin. Now, summarize it. We're going back onto the XRP medium to macro chart. What does all of these volatilities mean? Because the volatility will not go away. The market will remain volatile. We saw a reversal signal here. Right now, the price is slowing down here. So the ABC is over and you're going to come back down. How low is the question? And the key supports are still valid because you go on a weekly chart. The idea still remains that the weekly is bullish. You're closing above the moving average, but below a resistance. Agreed, there is no variation for that. But you're in the standard deviation zone in the weekly chart. You didn't go up into this point for last 1 year. Now you're trying to close the weekly candle in that range. And it's not only that. You just zoom in on the weekly and you get to see if you do close the weekly candle where you are now making a new trend. You're making a new high, local high. So you already got swing highs on the higher lows. Now you're trying to form a higher high. So if you do get a higher low, higher high formation, at that point, the odds are tilting directly to the upside. So if you think the price is about to drop back to 0.29 and it's about to give you massive opportunity to buy this asset, maybe we'll be wrong. Maybe what the price action is showing us is this. And that's on a weekly. So if you want to add more information into that data points, look at the RSI. Do you see that the RSI is going down, negative? Do you see the MACD is saying I'm going down? No, they're not. On the weekly, they're giving you the idea I'm still going for the dollar mark. On a micro level is where you look for these drops because that's where you get to see we're forming a double top. We may come back down to the trend line. So if it's me, maybe I'm wrong. But I would only look for something like this, 0.5, 0.52 as a key range to buy back in. Because I believe that the price can come down. That's okay. The micro leg down, you may do this. And then you'll start the next leg higher. Because the breakout point on a macro is in. And on a micro, you want to see this. And that's a 4-hour chart on XRP. So while you have the understanding of Bitcoin on a micro, XRP on a micro, now compare XRP to Bitcoin. This is going to give you a better understanding of the market. On a short-term scenario, you're watching the same pattern where it's slowing down to the upside and it's forming the same pattern, which would argue I want to correct back down. So if you see the price is arguing that I want to correct back down, now put on the candles. Go on maybe a 12-hour or a daily, it's going to still give you clarity. So in a week or two, we'll come back to the XRP Bitcoin chart and look for what we were discussing about. The price went up, the RSI didn't. And that's a daily chart. So at that point, we should be looking for the next level of support, which should be somewhat like this. So the XRP Bitcoin chart shows you it should come down here before it bounces back higher. Now, why should it bounce back higher? That's a valid question. You should ask that. When you zoom out on a macro chart and add on your indicators or your trend, whichever you like, you actually get to see that this point which we are arguing is a retest of a trend and its breakout. So we were inside that from July 2023. We remained in that for a year. Now we broke higher. We're going to come back down to retest that and then bounce off. A lot of people will miss this for sure because this drop is the disbelief drop. Maybe I'm wrong, But the market will show you who was wrong and who was right. Because at each of these points, when you reversed, now remember, this is a monthly chart. You're going all the way back to last 10 years, a decade. And the price action argues forming something like this is bullish. And it's not only that, you'll actually get to see a inverse head and shoulder macro reversal, or you're going to see a divergence. You already got the bullish divergence here. Now getting all these signals means there is something big coming. What can that something big be? No, we don't know. No one knows. But the argument of the price going that high on a macro chart is still valid. This kind of a pattern evolving, and the trend lines kind of give you the higher odds scenario at the bottom, because that has way more touches than the micro or the medium on a longer horizon. Last 10 years, if you're taking it, this is showing you this is where you focus on the asset. It breaks higher, it retests, and it goes back up. Now the retest point here, the lowest, is not that far. You can only look for maybe a 20% to the downside. So Bitcoin showing you this kind of a volatility on a micro should not confuse you where the macro direction is going. And if you are involved in the market with a lot of these different assets, which you're watching them going up and you're like confused why they're not, watch yesterday's video. We actually went through a lot of that, showing you why they broke higher and how to identify those at the right time. And if you need help on those, watch here in the SI family. We are posting everything, the breakout, the bullish divergence, the opportunities, everything is posted here so you can enter at the right time and exit at the right time. So guys, if you received value, smash that like button for me. I will meet you guys on the next video. Bye for now.